You can say bad things about Chinese. I don't mind.
Hitler.
Oh, I think if you do like this, it's quite rude in German.
Which one? Really? Why?
They have this kind of stereotype of Korean is like they always very sincere and they always being very honest, and I think almost 99% of all the Korean I know here is quite sincere, and I think probably that's the only thing I think is different with Chinese boys.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah, my one is Korean. It's very old-fashioned one actually, but very dangerous.
How can you tell this is Jasmine?
Because you say like Jasmine.
Well, they're both good.
Great.
No, it's
Generally,
just- I don't
some
like that.
Chinese stereotype in Korea is some kind of, it's more open type, more outgoing type is Chinese stereotype.
Really?
Rate you,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think these three are all good. I can also
will
try
try
that
Jasmine.
one.
We have more experience and see a lot of guys and different cultures. You kind of think it's just fine. You even can have a boyfriend like black guy or have this mop on the head. And the heart is very important.
Usually Korean education tend to teach about capitalism is right, communism is wrong, America is right, China is wrong. They didn't say that directly, but every education mentioned about that indirectly because of Koreans very complicated situation between North Korea and South Korea. So anyway, I think that we had very many brainwashed from Korean education. So when I went here, I got a very big shock about that, because in here is where people can, at least they can say and they can get their own thinking. Oh, probably capitalism has a problem. Surely capitalism has a lot of side effect or wrong thing. And especially when I met her, she is from China. So when we talked about some our own concepts such as capitalism, communism, or something like that, and every our media some way or something like that, I got a very different way thinking. It made me totally changed. My if I couldn't get like that chance, probably I would be just like totally typical Korean man. So
I'm gonna try it a little faster. Oh, you got into a new pose, got you. This works.
My dad doesn't know I'm in a relationship. He's never known, and he never will know unless I'm married or I'm going to get married to that person.
No.
It just comes from the culture thing. So.
Because you've grown up more around Turkish people, sort of. I've kind of grown up in, I guess, a more mixed, multicultural environment, I guess. So yeah, it's been kind of normal for me to just...
With my dad it changes. He'll have days where he's like, as long as you love the person loves you, then it's fine. But then other days he'll be like, yeah, you should get married to someone Turkish or Kurdish. So...
It's just being with what you're used to, because you kind of get a sense of familiarity with someone of I guess the same race. So
I guess that kind of goes with my lot as well. That would be more. It would be more accepted if the guy was white rather than if he was black. So that's an extra.
So where do you want to go?
there's a cut across there, but we'll have to. Is there a gap? There's a gap there. You can go down there.
Jay, there's no gap.
Oh, the white.
It was my family and it was a neighbour family here. But they used to get the boys to climb up trees to pick the apples. That was my thing.
What part of that? It's this thing. I think it depends how the people have grown up, like whether they've been more immersed in one culture than the other. Plus, because we're in London, it's a big melting pot of loads of different cultures. So, in a way, people are exposed to a lot of stuff anyway, and it just kind of becomes a part of what they're used to, without really thinking of, oh, it's from this culture or it's from that culture. Everything just kind of ends up on the same level.
So multiracial couples do still get looks
Yeah.
on transport. You walk down the street and people still just like look like what's going on there. So I don't think it's as accepted as people would like to think.
It's something you notice, but when you're in it, the differences don't seem to matter or mean as much.
I've met many Zimbabweans, obviously, like via Ben, and they're such nice people. I've met so many South African men, and they all seem like chauvinist pigs.
Apartheid was different though, because it affected it. Didn't
White South Africans. This is
a thing of salt.
Thank you. My first attraction to Ben literally was his Southern African accent. I'm not gonna, and obviously the fact that he's fucking hot. But it was the fact that he wasn't English, and all the other guys around us were. And I was like, oh, peeked up all of a sudden, heard the Southern African accent. And I was like, oh, hey, where are you from? Big boy.
But it was, for me, it was like a more of a mutual, like the friendship kind of gave way to it all anyway. Like, so that's the kind of.
It was my boobs and my arms.
It reminded me of Africa.
It genuinely was.
That's yum, thanks, Ali.
Welcome, thank you, Benji.
I really struggled when I was younger to relate to a lot of sounds horrible, to relate to a lot of English people, because I don't know what it was culturally that was different, but I didn't feel they were genuine in what they'd say. And
I don't know whether culturally in Zimbabwe they're sensitive people, but I was grown up by like a hardened Irish / Midlands family, where like being like sensitive or being emotional was not accepted. It's just not accepted, and I am quite like, I'm not necessarily that sensitive, but like I'm emotional. And
you are though.
I'm not.
You're really sensitive.
Okay, that's great. But I'm talking. No, I'm really joking. No, but
the school I went to, sort of, I'd say 70% of the kids were white, and the other 30% sort of, you know, were black, and even though I was friends with those sort of, you know, with everyone, like you didn't find, I mean, you found integration amongst sort of different races as you grew older, but sort of during my teenage years I probably would have, it's a tough one. I still would have gravitated towards white females.
Which is weird because I'm actually really attracted to black men and Asian men.
To sort of have a natural bias towards like dating white people is so weird. I don't like that thought now, but I was just a kid.
Yeah, well, you
But-
were a kid, but you were a kid, like you were a third generation white African Zimbabwean boy.
Talking about earlier is that sort of what you lack. Sort of like I compensate for and what I lack, you compensate.
Yeah.